I'm not even going to talk too much about last week because, quite frankly, I'm getting quite tired of talking about my club. This might be a quick video, to be quite honest with you. The whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a shambles. Yeah, needs to come down quite quickly. I want to start with the cooking that happened over the weekend of last week, though. Manchester City at the Etihad 4-1 versus Liverpool. I think everyone saw that coming, to be quite honest. There is no way Man City are going to be unrelenting. When it comes to winning the Prem, they are going to do it. Results like this are going to prove it. I think Man City are in beast mode now. And Liverpool had no answer for them, even though they took the lead. Yeah, they're just not good at the moment. Not good to watch at the minute. Obviously got a draw in midweek against Chelsea as well. Just grimy. It's just grimy. I'm not even going to be banking on them to get us a result against Arsenal this weekend because they're just not great at the moment. Like, style is very slow. Not a befitting of a Jurgen Klopp team at all. But again, this has been something that's been plaguing them all season, and there's been no changes. Even with the additions of Gakpo, it still doesn't look to be that energy there. As for Manchester City, they're trying to go from strength to strength. Obviously, Haaland was injured, and it seemed to make him play a bit better. They're more of a cohesive unit. Again, not to say that Haaland isn't a world-class goal scorer. He absolutely is. But it's just a different dimension when he doesn't play. And it shows. Everything is a lot more crisp. As opposed to getting the balls into him, into the box, Man City go about their business differently when he's not on the pitch. And it showed again against Liverpool. We'll move on to Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium. They played Fulham last week, and that ended up being a 2-1 win to Bournemouth. See, Bournemouth are annoying me now because every week I say Bournemouth are going to get relegated. They're going to get relegated. They're going to get relegated. And then they go on these mad runs. At the moment, Bournemouth are out of the relegation zone. And they're doing very, very well. I think this all stemmed from that result they had at Arsenal a couple of weeks back when they went 2-0 up at the Emirates. And from that, they've obviously galvanised themselves to got a bit more confident. And at home, since then, they've beaten Liverpool, and now they've beaten top 7 Fulham as well. So they're going about their business in the right way. It's going to be an interesting one this season as well for the relegation dogfight because literally, 8 teams are in it at the moment. And it's literally about 3 or 4 points separating 20th up to like 12th. Obviously, Bournemouth are in that, but no, they're not doing themselves any harm at all. Fulham, on the other hand, aren't doing themselves any favours. I think round about this time of the season, we're going to start seeing teams kind of dwindle out. Fulham, unfortunately, look like they're going to be one of those out without Mitrovic. I think he was out for like 8 games, which is the rest of the season pretty much. So they're going to struggle now, I believe, moving forward. Still a great season for them. They'll still probably finish in the top 10, which is absolutely brilliant for them because I had them down as relegation candidates before the season even started. But no, they're showing out, which is obviously good for them. But a good win for Bournemouth, another 3 points for them, and they move. Nottingham Forest versus Wolverhampton. That was from the City ground. Again, one of those games that I thought would be a nice 1-0 win for Forest because obviously I know their home form is obviously their bread and butter if they are going to stay in this league. Wolverhampton, of course, are fighting in that relegation dogfight as well. So everyone down there just fighting for points. And that ended up being a draw. I'm not overly surprised by the result. Nottingham Forest, obviously, again, this time of the season, results haven't been going their way, so they're starting to grind out sort of home draws. They need to do more of that away from home, to be quite honest with you. As for Wolverhampton, again, still without a goal scorer, but again, still very, very tough to beat, as they're proving. They came back from behind in this one as well to nick a draw 1-1. Another 2 teams that are down in the relegation dogfight, Crystal Palace versus Leicester City. That was from Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace ended up winning that game 2-1. The return of Roy Hodgson. It's funny. New manager bounce. It's a thing, people. It's a thing. And obviously, coinciding with that, Brendan Rodgers lost his job. So now he's out. Leicester have yet to appoint a new manager yet. But of course, 10 games left in the season, they'll probably get an interim and then look to go again in the summer. Good game, actually. This is one of the ones I actually did kind of sort of have a peek at. And Palace got a last-minute goal in like the 94th minute, I believe it was. So, no, really, really, really decent game. Crystal Palace under Roy, we know what they're about. They're going to be resolute. defensively, they're going to be resolute, very, very resolute. And obviously going forward, they do have people that can hurt you. And so it proved. As for Leicester City, defensively, they are shocking. They need so much more at the minute. Harry Souttar is like a Harry Maguire 2.0 at the moment. And I heard Harry Maguire might be going back there as well. So can you imagine Harry Souttar next to Harry Maguire? Oh, flipping hell. Calamity central. But that's for another day. James Maddison, I believe, will obviously leave. I hope we get him. Tielemans, I think, will leave as well. Yeah, there's a couple of decent commodities. Harvey Barnes, I'm not sure. He may stay another season, but I do see, a traditional sort of, Aston Villa type club probably going for a Harvey Barnes. They do like to play with wingers, and he's an out and out left winger. So it could get a little bit sticky for Leicester if they don't back up their ideas. And if they do somehow stay in this league, then they need to invest in the summer. We know they ain't got the cash to do it. So it could be very stressful times for them ahead. We'll move to Arsenal versus Leeds United. Again, another formality result for Arsenal. No one wasn't really expecting Leeds to do anyone any favours. And obviously so that proved at the Emirates. 4-1 win. Not much really to say about that, to be quite honest. Another day at the office for them at the moment. Leeds United, again, one of those teams that are battling relegation at the moment. They're down in the dogfight. They need to do better. Simple as that. Had a fantastic result in midweek, actually, which we'll obviously get into in a minute. But when they go to these types of games, they need to be a bit more resolute. They can't be as open as they have been, because they got opened up differently. And obviously, when you do that at places like there, things like that do happen. So they ended up getting a packing in of 4-1 against Arsenal. Probably game of the weekend last week came from the Amex. That was Brighton 3, Brentford 3. Mad game. Very, 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 very crazy game. I watched the majority of the first half of this one. One of those games that I did actually mention this would be a draw. I did say 1-1, 2-2, or 3-3. One of them kind of games. And look how it proved. So said, so done. Ended up being 3-3. Yeah. Kind of what I expected from both of these teams, because both of them do like to play attacking football. Both of them are very, very good on the ball. Both are very aggressive as well. So I'm not surprised that obviously both teams are on the score sheet and scoring bucketfuls of goals, because they've been doing it all season. Both of these teams, I do believe, will finish in the top 8. And there's not really much more you can really add to that. Really, really good teams. Actually, quite good managers as well. De Zerbi and Thomas Frank as well. But yeah, no, both of them going about their business properly, and they will be finishing in the top half this season. The evening game, I believe, of the day was Chelsea versus Aston Villa. So I had Chelsea to win this one 1-0 initially. Aston Villa went there and beat them 2-0. Chelsea. That's now the last 2 I don't think they've scored in. Graham Potter has now since lost his job. Obviously off the back of that, Unai Emery have taken Villa up to 7th. They've sort of come up. They're creeping at the moment. Currently on 44 points. I think that's 6-7 points behind us in 5th at the minute. Villa are creeping. They're on stuff. Ollie Watkins breaks another record. I think it is. 6 away games on the bounce he scored in now. I don't think that's happened in Villa's history. I think the 5-goal thing happened last in 1986 or something. I think this is going further back. I don't think this has ever happened. A striker scoring 6 away games on the spin. But Ollie Watkins is doing it. Seems to be getting on the end of everything at the moment, which is crazy. But yeah, and he scored again in the midweek as well. So yeah, Ollie Watkins is on a bit of form. But Aston Villa are doing very well, very well. As for Chelsea, I understand they've obviously rehired Frank Lampard for the last 10 games of the season. So he's now going to be an interim. I'm not really sure what to make of that, to be quite honest. You saw the work he did at Everton, and got that work at Everton. You saw the work he did at Chelsea, ended up getting packed in at Chelsea, and then they ended up sacking him to bring him back for the last 10 games of the season. Safe to say Chelsea finishing 13th this year. And then obviously they'll look to go again in the summer and probably spend another 100 billion The 600 million they've already spent in January. That's a joke of a club for me at the moment. On to London Stadium. That is West Ham versus Southampton. Again, another formality for West Ham United. I didn't expect them to lose. Worst they were getting to get is a draw. Southampton just aren't on any bits at all. Southampton are definitely getting relegated. I don't see any changes happening there. As for West Ham, again, another loss in midweek. They're just not very good right now. I was expecting better from them. I know they've got a European campaign to think about as well, but at the moment, they're just not hitting. They're not doing anything at all. And I don't see where their next win is actually going to come from. It's looking a little bit bleak for them at the moment, because I know they've still got to play the likes of Arsenal. I think they've still got to go to Liverpool. There's a couple of others in there as well. Maybe a Brighton and Brentford they've still got to play as well in their last 10. Yeah, West Ham are down in the doldrums as well at the moment, and they might not be able to get out of where they're from. Obviously, with the results against Southampton are going to help, but everyone's beat. I say everybody, well, obviously we didn't do that a couple of weeks ago, but everyone's beating Southampton these days, so nothing to really write home about there. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 0. This was Super Sunday. Well, I think I read Manchester United haven't won a game or scored a goal since the cup final. And obviously they did in midweek, obviously got the win, and Marcus Rashford scored in midweek as well. But they hadn't scored a goal or won a game since the cup final, obviously beating Newcastle in that final. Newcastle basically showed them the way on the return. Excellent. Newcastle were brilliant. Man United, not so much. I don't even remember Man United being on the pitch. Newcastle peppered them so much. Alan Saint-Maximin was on bits. Joe Willock showed out a little bit as well. Callum Wilson, obviously, when he came on, stretched the back four as well. And then the whole thing with Ten Hag taking off his defenders literally made no sense to me at all. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. See what happens when you tinker. Anyway, Newcastle United obviously won again in midweek as well. A 5-1 win at West Ham. Madness. Just... they're on elite bits at the moment. They've got good form. Currently the favourites to hold top 4 at the minute. But again, they're still out of Newcastle, us and Man United. If we get our act together, then who knows. But at the moment, it's looking a little bit peak for us at the minute. Speaking of peak, Everton versus Spurs. That was from Goodison Park. We took the lead. Harry Kane with a penalty. Everton had a man sent off, and then all of a sudden, it was like they had 14 men on the pitch because we couldn't seem to get the ball off 10 men. And then obviously Michael Keane with his first goal of the season scores from about 55 years out. Do you know what I mean? Like, where did that come from? And it had to happen against us as well. Obviously it did. Of course it did. It's what we do. We should have put the game to bed after the penalty. But again, this is something that I've become accustomed and used to. I'm not even upset. I've become so used to this nonsense. It's whatever now, isn't it? Like, whatever happens, happens. Whoever the manager that is that comes in, we need to literally rebuild everything from top to bottom. And that's from the hierarchy down to the players on the pitch. If Kane wants to go, he can go. He deserves to win a trophy. His goals warrant it, to be fair. There's no way I'd have Harry Kane in my lineup, knowing full well I ain't going to be winning any trophies anytime soon, hoping he's going to stay for another season. Like, why would I do that? I know he loves the club. I get that. I know he wants to see progression under us. But at this point in time, I personally have seen in my 30+ year existence, I've seen us win 3 trophies, and I was at the cup final for one of them. Tells you everything you need to know, to be quite honest with you. We are the lowest cup winning team currently in the top 6, by a long shot as well. So I don't even know where to go from here, to be honest. We'll see what happens next with the hierarchy and obviously what they're planning on doing. Obviously, there were games in midweek, which I did touch on. Obviously, Ellen Road started out 2-1 versus Nottingham Forest. Leeds United winning 3 points there. Onto the Vitality, it was Bournemouth 0, Brighton 2. Leicester City 1, Aston Villa 2. That was from the King Power. And then we had Stamford Bridge stalemate, Chelsea 0, Liverpool 0. I think that is the 4th time in a row Chelsea and Liverpool have had a 0-0 draw. 2 times in the cup, twice this season in the league. And then obviously West Ham versus Newcastle was 5-1 to Newcastle at London Stadium, I believe that was. And Manchester United beat Brentford at Old Trafford in midweek as well with that Marcus Rashford goal, which I talked about yesterday. Currently, there is Championship football on at the moment. I believe it's Millwall versus Luton at the moment. That was the early kickoff today. Tomorrow, Premier League is on. So this is match day 30 of 38. Prediction time. Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Everton. That's a Manchester United win for me, hands down. I think they'll go and win that game 2-0. Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest in Villa Park. That's an easy one for me as well. Aston Villa, I think, will beat Nottingham Forest. That's going to be a 2-0 win as well. Ollie Watkins to score again for me there, I believe. Brentford v Newcastle. So this one's an interesting one because Brentford they're not a turnover at home. You can't turn up to Brentford and just expect to pick up 3 points. It doesn't happen that way. Only one team have actually managed to do that this season, and that was Arsenal. Newcastle are actually one of the best informed teams in the league at the moment away from home. I'm going to go for a Brentford win. I think Brentford are going to take this one 2-1, and I do think Ivan Toney is going to be on the score sheet again. Fulham versus West Ham. Again, another formality for me. West Ham are not playing well at the moment, and Fulham do need a win. They're at home, Craven Cottage. Even without Mitrovic, I do expect them to have too much for West Ham. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win there. Wolverhampton versus Chelsea. This is from Molineux. Chelsea do not travel well to Molineux. Wolves currently don't have a striker. Little bit of this. Could be a draw, that one. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I'll go with a 1-1 draw for that. I won't be surprised if either team wins, to be quite honest. You'd expect Chelsea, with all the riches they've got, to go there and get a result. But Wolverhampton at home have already beaten Liverpool and us there. Could be a sticky one for Chelsea. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw for this one. Tottenham versus Brighton. That is from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, I'm not going to predict what we're going to... I don't know what we're going to do. I think the last time I said we were going to lose a game, we actually won it, and that was against Nottingham Forest. So I'm going to go the same again. We're going to lose 2-1 to Brighton. We're not playing well at the moment. Turmoil around the club. Antonio Conte's assistant is still running the show, which is obviously, weird, but whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go with a Brighton 2-1 win, and obviously hope that reverse juju means that we actually take the 3 points. Leicester City versus Bournemouth. That's from the King Power. I will go with a draw there as well. Yeah, 1-1. Leicester 1, Bournemouth 1. I think that is a fair assessment of where both clubs are at the minute. Bournemouth are obviously a lot better away from home, and Leicester just can't seem to find any consistent form. Southampton versus Manchester City is the evening game. That is from St Mary's, and I do believe Manchester City are going to win this game by a landslide. Get your calculators out for this one. I'm going about 4-5-0. Even if Haaland is not fit, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Julian Alvarez, Gundogan, you name it. Manchester City have got weapons all over the pitch. And they will use them at will. And I think Southampton are going to get absolutely peppered. Sunday is Super Sunday, of course. The first game is from Ellen Road. That is Leeds United versus Crystal Palace. Palace obviously winning their last game, last time out under Hodgson. Leeds United obviously winning their last home game in midweek. I think this one could go Crystal Palace's way. I just think they've got more about them. Leeds United could obviously turn up and obviously, show them what's good, but I don't see it. I'll probably lean towards more of a draw, Crystal Palace win. And if Crystal Palace were to win, I'll probably go something like 2-1. Final game of the weekend is going to take place at Anfield, and I did touch on this earlier. It is Liverpool versus Arsenal. I think if Liverpool win this game, it's on for Manchester City. It's been on for Manchester City for me anyway, but I think this just delivers it and make sure it is. Arsenal do not travel well to Liverpool. I don't think they've beaten Liverpool there for the best part of about 8 years now. The last 4 times they've been there, they've been absolutely hammered, and they've only scored, 3 goals in that process. I don't see that changing. I think Liverpool at Anfield are going to win this game, and I think this is going to derail Arsenal and their title challenge. There we are. That is me. Enjoy your bank holiday. Enjoy your Easter. Eat as many chocolate eggs as you possibly can. I'm going to be watching most of the football all day today. yeah, that's pretty much my weekend. And, you know, hopefully we can get a result versus Brighton tomorrow, but I'm not counting my blessings on that. But as it stands at the moment, yeah, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Easter, and I'll see you in the next week.